In a near-distant future, 8 high-profile gamers are invited to the top of a luxury building. They are offered a grand prize of $100,000 for participating in a new game called the Call-Up. Upon arrival, a robotic voice from the ceiling greets them and instructs them to sign in on tablets using their usernames. From that moment on, they must refer to each other only by these names. Next, they're asked to put on high-end motion capture suits. Adam, the most excited gamer, is mocked for his weight while undressing, while Carl reveals a severe burn scar on his ribs, explaining that his username comes from his girlfriend's cat. Once suited up, they enter a large white room with a massive scanner. One by one, they step inside and say their usernames, activating high-tech armor that fully immerses them in the game. Adam notes that these suits were previously available only to the millionaire elite, making their selection all the more puzzling. Zahid, however, loses enthusiasm when he sees his assigned username, terrorist_1. Concerned about the offensive implications given his Bosnian roots, he decides to leave. But when he reaches the door, he discovers it's locked. They're trapped. Reluctantly, Zahid agrees to continue, and the game begins. As soon as they put on their virtual reality helmets, the entire environment shifts, transforming into a post-apocalyptic world inside the building. Their suits morph into military uniforms. Everything feels real, but objects don't physically react to their touch in the real world. Suddenly, a burly sergeant appears, introducing himself as their mission leader. When the players lift their helmets, they realize he's not a real person but an NPC designed to guide them. The sergeant leads them through a tutorial, teaching them how to use their weapons by shooting bottles. Some players hit their targets, while others miss. He then demonstrates their vest's defensive function by shooting 2 of them, making it clear that a direct hit will remove their vest, leaving them fully exposed. If critically wounded, they can only recover by using a serum. The sergeant explains their mission. A terrorist commando has taken over the building. Their goal is to eliminate all hostiles and reach the first floor. The winner will take home the real-life prize of $100,000. The level begins with Andre, a former military member, leading the team. While exploring, they encounter the first enemy, and Andre swiftly takes him down without casualties. The voice announces that the level is complete, awarding all points to Andre. To proceed, they must ascend the stairs, but an unseen mechanism prevents them from skipping levels. Anyone who tries to go down early is electrocuted by hidden wiring. The next level presents new weapons, and Andre teaches the group how to use them. This stage requires stealth, dodging, and counterattacks as the terrorists now have upgraded firepower. During the fight, Andre saves Adam from a fatal hit but loses his own vest in the process, making him vulnerable. Meanwhile, Taylor, whose username is Slayer Girl, panics. She confesses that she isn't the real Slayer Girl. She took someone else's spot and doesn't belong there. Shelly, the other female gamer, tries to calm her, reassuring her that it's just a simulation. Carl secures his first kill but is immediately shot in the back. In a panic, he begs the NPC to let him surrender, but the enemy shoots him again. Before things worsen, Shelly intervenes, saving Carl, who writhes in pain on the floor. Strangely, Carl's agony doesn't seem exaggerated. It feels disturbingly real. Though there are no external wounds, the pain lingers as if he was truly shot. Shelly removes her helmet, checking for injuries, but finds nothing. The suffering continues until Andre administers a serum, instantly healing Carl in the game. Though physically fine, Carl remains traumatized by the experience. Taking a break, the group gathers to discuss a chilling possibility. Could this all be part of an elaborate reality TV show? Zahid panics, struggling to remove his suit, which feels impossibly tight and embedded into his body. He theorizes that this entire scenario is a human experiment orchestrated by Andre's mysterious weapons company. Some still believe it's a hoax, but even if it's real, they are too focused on the prize money to quit. Tension against Andre rises, with accusations thrown at him. Frustrated, he decides to leave. Keeping his helmet raised, he steps into the real world and heads to the bathroom, unaware that the game continues. As he looks in the mirror, several revived NPCs suddenly appear behind him. He barely has time to lower his helmet before taking a direct hit. The players are immediately alerted that the next level has begun. Chaos erupts. Edward is shot and collapses, but manages to heal himself with a serum. Adam throws a grenade, successfully taking down multiple enemies, the only effective move in the round. Meanwhile, Andre crawls on the floor, seeking help as he slowly bleeds out. The robotic voice announces that the players have cleared level 2, with Adam earning the highest score. Just then, Andre's distant cries for help echo through the halls. Weak from his injuries, he hears a countdown ticking in his helmet. When it reaches 0, a high-voltage current surges into his brain, causing violent convulsions until he dies. The others find his lifeless body, unable to do anything, leaving only 7 players remaining. Zahid, drenched in sweat, grabs a fire extinguisher and frantically asks for a volunteer to help remove his helmet. Carl immediately steps up, and Zahid braces himself as Carl swings the extinguisher at full force. But the material is too rigid. It doesn't even crack. Zahid collapses, defeated. Suddenly, in the virtual world, the sergeant appears and brutally beats Zahid for attempting to break the rules. The others watch in horror as he warns them there will be real consequences if they try to escape. Despite their fear, they manage to push through the next levels without any more casualties. They learn to use new weapons, engage in hand-to-hand combat, and fight under conditions like gas leaks that force them to avoid gunfire. During one of these battles, both Adam and Carl are wounded, and the team quickly uses serums to save them. As they progress, they notice that night has already fallen in the real world. Desperate to escape, they come up with a new plan, using a cart to smash a window and attract attention from people below. They manage to crack the glass, but before they can break through, the sergeant reappears and launches a brutal attack on Zahid. This time, the damage is horrifyingly real. His leg is shattered. Writhing in agony, Zahid begs the others to hide him and continue without him. A few moments later, he succumbs to blood loss and dies. The next level begins, and Marco, the most ruthless player, is shot down after a brief encounter with the enemy. Shelley, despite the danger, uses her serum to save him. Meanwhile, Taylor, who has been hiding to avoid conflict, suddenly realizes an enemy is creeping up behind her. With no other option, she fights back. Carl and Shelley have a quiet conversation. Carl notices from her identification that she has no listed family. Shelley confirms this, revealing that her parents are deceased. Carl admits that he, too, is alone. Adam shares that he lives with his grandmother, who has Alzheimer's. Marco mentions his divorce, while Edward reveals that he is an orphan and an only child. As they piece things together, they come to a chilling realization. None of them have anyone who would come looking for them. Zahid, being an undocumented immigrant, had nowhere safe to go either. It becomes clear that they were chosen for this game because of their isolation. If they don't make it out, no one will ever know. With this grim understanding, they proceed to the next level, where they find the sergeant in a separate room, brutally torturing a hostage from the terrorist commando. The team's new mission is to extract a password from the hostage to defuse a bomb hidden inside the building before it detonates. However, the hostage only speaks Russian and is hooked up to voltage transmitters, making the interrogation brutal. No one has the mental fortitude to go through with it, except Edward. Without hesitation, Edward cranks up the voltage, ignoring the man's screams and desperate pleas for mercy. After enduring excruciating pain, the hostage finally gives them a word. Adam quickly inputs it into the computer, only for the terrorist to burst into laughter. It was a false code. Before anyone can react, Taylor swiftly executes him. Tension erupts. Marco blames Adam for the mistake and lashes out, accidentally hitting Taylor in the process. Edward notices the sergeant holding an elevator door on the other side of the room and shouts for everyone to get inside before the bomb explodes. As the elevator descends, it suddenly comes to an abrupt stop. They scramble to pry the doors open, but Marco, still furious, forces Adam to stay behind as punishment for messing up the password. The elevator then resumes, skipping multiple levels, leaving Marco and Adam alone to face whatever comes next. Meanwhile, the rest of the team reaches a new area filled with more weapons and prepares for the next battle. In the next test, the terrorists throw a smoke grenade, triggering painful memories for Carl. As they hide, he confides in Shelley. He lost his girlfriend in a fire while trying to save her, explaining the burn scars on his body. At the same time, Marco uses Adam as a human decoy, shoving him forward in case of an ambush. As expected, an enemy appears. Marco pushes Adam toward him, but the terrorist has no bullets left. Reacting instantly, the enemy fires back, hitting Adam in the side. Within moments, Adam succumbs to his injuries, leaving only 5 players. Later, Taylor finds a life-saving serum, but Marco intercepts her, demanding it for himself. When she refuses, he snaps, angrily comparing her to his hated ex-wife. The argument escalates, and Marco, without hesitation, shoots Taylor and takes the serum for himself. Not long after, Marco encounters Carl, who casually asks if he has seen the others. But Carl soon stumbles upon Taylor's corpse and realizes the truth. Marco is a traitor. Determined to stop him, Carl exits the virtual world to engage Marco in a real fight. He puts up a strong resistance, but Marco ultimately overpowers him. Just as he's about to finish Carl off, the sergeant intervenes. Punishing Marco for breaking the rules and killing a teammate, the sergeant unleashes a relentless beating. The force is so intense that Marco is crushed to death. Now, only 3 players remain. They reach the final station, a basement where the bomb is hidden. As they prepare to defuse it, a terrorist suddenly emerges from a nearby van and shoots Carl, sending him crashing to the ground. Edward and Shelley take cover, searching for a way to fight back. Carl still has one serum left, but before he can use it, Shelley is shot as well. Without hesitation, Carl sacrifices himself, using the serum to save her instead. Edward then launches a bazooka, obliterating the last enemy and successfully deactivating the bomb. As Shelley recovers, Carl dies beside her, holding her hand, content that he was able to save her. With the game finally over, the sergeant reappears, now dressed in his formal uniform. He congratulates them for reaching the end. However, Shelley notices something disturbing. Edward is repeating the sergeant's speech word for word. It dawns on her. Edward was a traitor all along. His true motives remain unknown. The virtual world fades away, and men in black uniforms arrive to dispose of Carl's lifeless body. Shelley tries to resist, but she's immediately sedated and dragged aside. One by one, all the players' records are erased, as if they never existed. When Shelley wakes up, she's still in the parking lot. Edward stands before her, revealing that he never believed they would make it this far. She coldly responds that everyone is dead, and it wasn't worth it. Edward, unfazed, argues that at least their lives had meaning in the end. He warns her that even if she goes to the police, no one will believe her. As he orders one of his men to sedate her again, Shelley fights back, overpowering her attacker and stealing his gun. Using the tactical skills she learned from the game, she shoots out the lights and vanishes into the darkness. Edward's henchmen rush after her, but she takes them down one by one in the shadows. Now alone, a desperate Edward pleads for his life. Shelley doesn't hesitate. She pulls the trigger. The film ends with a victorious Shelley stepping out of the building, watching the sun rise as she finally escapes. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.